The views expressed on this broadcast of Speaker Monday with your host, the Monty Man, do not necessarily reflect the opinions of KHLT Recovery Broadcasting or its affiliates. KHLT is not affiliated with any particular 12-step fellowship.
Just when you think you have all your ducks in a row, life takes a spin. It happens again and again. It seems to me that when I take my will and let you go, without the booze, I've been living, that's a fact. Without the booze,
I've been making my way back.
without the booze, I've been learning day by day to let it go and stay out of my own way.
Welcome to Speaker Monday with the Monty Man. Each week, Monty brings us speakers from a variety of 12-step fellowships. Now here's the Monty Man with this week's speaker.
Well, greetings, family, and welcome to Take12Radio.com's Speaker Monday. And as you may have already discovered, we are in the process of giving our website a brand new facelift and making this website a lot more user-friendly, professional-looking, and just easier for you to maneuver through. Well, hey, listen, I want to let you know that we have an opportunity here every single week to share experience, strength, and hope with not just the recovery community, but advocates of and family members. I would encourage you, if you know someone who isn't an addict or an alcoholic or doesn't deal with a compulsivity of any kind or isn't codependent or anything, but just, what we would affectionately call a normie, I would, encourage you to invite them to tune in, to listen in to any of our shows. Because we live in a world where the number one health threat is addiction. It's the number one health threat over every other health threat in the country, number one. And yet it's the least understood. And so we hope to help people get an understanding of not just the problem, but the solution as well. And one of the things we like to do is bring you speakers from around the globe that share their experience, strength, and hope, and what it was like, what happened, and what it's like today, as it reflects their own personal story of recovery. And this week, Avi H is speaking, and he is a marijuana addict, and he's a member of Marijuana Anonymous, and he's speaking at the Santa Clara, California LAGLC meeting in Hollywood, California. Or he's from Santa Clara, California, speaking at the Hollywood meeting. And he's going to share with you how he discovered marijuana and then hashish in Israel. And then his story about trying to feel normal, wanting to cry, but not being able to, wanting to feel sad, but not being able to. Maybe you can identify with that. He's just a real joy to listen to. He's a lot of fun to listen to, and he's easy on the ears. So without further ado, here is Avi H.
Hi, I'm Avi, and I'm a marijuana addict. Let me time myself so I don't get carried away here. All right. There we go. Okay. So, what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now, not what it was like when I got here and then go on and on and on. So, I have to separate myself with that because usually I love to get caught up in the past. You got to stay in the moment here. And so, what happened? I got here in 2005. Before 2005, I was a heavy pot smoker. I love marijuana. And I say I love, not loved, because, I love it still. I just really doesn't work the same as it used to for me. It works in a different way towards the end, and I loved everything about it. I loved the lifestyle. I loved the pipe. I loved the portability of it, and it all made sense to me. And the feeling when I first smoked weed, it was adjacent to my friend's home. It was like a block away maybe, and we just took out the pipe, and he and his friend put the weed in, and we smoked it, and it all made sense. Things were clicking just like that. Like, oh, that smell. That's what my older brothers always smelled like when I was young. It's like, oh, that's what that is. Oh, it's like all these little childhood memories just ring-a-ding-ding. Like it's all making sense. You know, it's like, oh, wow, this is cool. Like now I know what this is, and now I know why they know what it is, because it's like it felt great. I like why skimp on that? You know, like that's what it was. And so I'm like, but it is a drug. So I'm going to chill out for a sec here and think about this. And then I smoked it the next day too. And then, the whole munchies and all that, it was glorious. I was in heaven. This is what I wanted. And like a lot of people say, I have arrived. I've arrived, and this is really wonderful. Now, it was wonderful for a long time. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I loved it so much that I would grow it, I would deal it. I wanted a constant flow of marijuana. That's what it progressed into. It wasn't that quick. It was a gradual thing for me. Because at first I just, was treading the waters, and then, I knew I loved it, but, it's like it costs money, and I'm in high school, and I don't have that much money. So I left the country because I just wasn't really comfortable I never loved the town I lived in. It was really hard to live there, and I always felt different than everyone. It was very uncomfortable for me because, I don't know, I felt like a Jewish nomad in this, like, diaspora, whatever you want to call it. And it was just, like, really interesting because being in that situation, I didn't feel like I could be friends with a lot of people because they go to all their church groups and all this. It's like, I'm not going to church. Like, I'm Jewish. And so it's like, it was just like, it felt like there was a separation for a long time there. And so this kind of bridged the gap for me, and I felt like I could be comfortable with everyone. Like weed was that, like the elastic bond that, like, just kind of kept us together, and it made sense to me to do that. And I felt a lot more comfortable after that. I actually started embracing the town I lived in, and that was a big deal for me back then because I was very uncomfortable my whole life living in this town. And Santa Clara, by the way, if anyone. Okay, so I was still uncomfortable though when I started getting high. I wasn't getting high enough, I guess. I don't know. And so I left to Israel, and I discovered hashish there. And that was this was in 11th grade, and I was just like, this is great. I love hashish. And so I came back, and I'm like, I come back to marijuana, and I'm like, this is not what I want anymore. And so I just couldn't always get hashish, so I just smoked more marijuana because then it felt like that way. And so it was just like getting this effect. Jim once referred to it as, you're always trying to get to normal, like 0%. First time I did it, I was at 100. You know what I'm talking about, Jim? Yeah, you said it. Of course you know. And so, and like after a while of just getting totally blasted, I would just try to get to normal. Because it just felt normal to be high. And when that becomes normal, being not high was like something not desirable anymore. I did not want that. Because if I had that, it would be like, this is very bland and uncomfortable. And I lived in a house that was very loud, a lot of yelling. And so the marijuana helped turn the volume down on that too. And I didn't smoke when that would happen. I just smoked so I wouldn't react to how that happened. And I didn't do that, consciously, but it worked, and muting my emotions was a big deal for me. Like, I didn't consciously do that at all, but the effect to me was I'm getting high and I feel good. And I feel good because I'm not feeling anything. And that was really what it felt like. It felt like I was only feeling what I wanted to see. And I did that for a while, and I didn't realize that might have affected me for a while. So I got the whole medical marijuana thing eventually, and it progressed to that. And I was getting super blasted all the time, and eventually I just got so high one time like over a course of time, that I started getting paranoid a little bit. And I didn't really realize that was gradual too. This was all very gradual, it felt like to me, and the paranoia just grew, and it progressed to the point where it's like I thought people were after me, because I was high all the time, so I was paranoid more and more and more. And like, this is just how it was. I was smoking very high quality weed, I suppose, and it just kind of my imagination took over reality, and I went nuts, guys. I went nutso, and in short, I was hospitalized. I mean, and to the new people, this doesn't happen to all of us. This happened to me. This is my story, and so I was, that's where it took me. And that's why a young fellow like me is here at the ripe age of 23, because I had a very low bottom at a very young age, fortunately for me, and I'm very grateful for that, because this program, which I'll get into in just a minute here, is very eye-opening. So I got into this hospital, and I was pretty hopeless, I remember one of the most terrible feelings. I was talking about the emotions, muting them. I muted them for so long that when I started feeling very bad, now that I didn't have my weed, I was in the hospital, on the ground, crawling, trying to cry, but I couldn't cry because no tears would come out my eyes. But I felt it, and that was the biggest pain I've ever felt in my life, trying to be sad, and you can't feel sad. It's a very scary feeling. And I didn't know how to feel when I got here. It was very disturbing. I didn't know a lot of things. I was a blank slate. And I was very empty. That's what the term is. I was empty inside. And so I got out of this hospital. They gave me an MA meeting list, and I didn't really care much for that. I didn't know what that was. They actually passed me a big book in the hospital, and I opened it up, flipped through the pages, and then just put it back down. And I'm like, it was a big book. I was like, it was really big, and I was like, intimidated by it. But it's also the big book. And so and they were talking about alcohol and this. I'm like, I don't really know much about that, and because I didn't really think alcohol was a problem then. And so, anyways, I get out of the hospital. They put me on some antidepressants and some psych meds, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to be fine now. I'm going to get back to health, and then I can go about my normal life. Like this paranoia will be gone, and eventually I'll smoke again. That was like the idea. I didn't know about any 12 steps. I didn't know anything about addiction, anything about that, because I thought the addict was not a person like me or anything like this. I thought the addict was a very different person in my head. And I was at home, and I started getting paranoid again after a month. And I'm taking these meds, and I'm like confused. What's going on here? And I was very hopeless now, because if these meds aren't working, I'm very screwed. This is going to be bad. I was running out of options here, guys, because if the doctors can't do anything, then what am I going to do? So I was looking through the old, because it was a very blurry time in the hospital, so I was looking through all this literature they gave me, and gratitude lists and all these things, and I found the meeting list of MA, and I had a meeting of Marijuana Anonymous in Van Nuys, and that's where I met all of you folks. You were all very welcoming. That made me uncomfortable. I was very uncomfortable just when I walked in the room, because mind you, I don't know how to feel. I don't know how to interact with people right now, because weed was my social lubricant. So it was like, I don't really know what's going on here. I'm just here. And so I sat down, and I was just here, and I just kind of looked down at the ground and listened. Now, let's jump forward here a little bit. I got a sponsor. People were handing out numbers. I got a sponsor, and he has helped me out tremendously, even though he doesn't think so a lot of times. He says, I don't know what I'm why. So, but anyway, it's really funny. I think that's called humility. But anyhow, anyway, but he helps me out tremendously today, and it's an incredible feeling. How does this what is the sponsor thing? A sponsor is someone that takes you through the 12 steps. Sponsors, that is their sole purpose. Anything residual is great, there's benefits, but like it's wonderful. I mean, there's when you get a sponsor, don't be like, I am hiring a friend. No, you're hiring someone to take you through the 12 steps. And I remember my sponsor would say to me, I'm your sponsor first, and then I'm your friend. Because if you're a friend, if you ask your best friend to be your sponsor, it's very confusing sometimes. It can be confusing. I'm not saying it won't work, but it can be confusing. That's why I'm sponsoring my best friend. But okay, so I wouldn't want to either. But anyhow, like it was, because it's like it's very personal. This is a very personal thing, and when you're going through something very personal, you can't. It's easier to go through someone that you haven't met before, I guess, until you got here. Someone that has experience with this thing, and so, I was insane. And my sponsor helped pull me out of the shit. Oh, there I go, cursing. So he helped pull me out of the shit, and it was very hard for me. I started feeling again. I started feeling anger. God, I'm not going to go into that. I beat up this guy, and I started crying afterwards because I felt terrible that I beat up this person because I was angry because he punched me out of nowhere. And it was like very strange. It was at a gas station. Anyways, I was 90 days clean, and so anyhow, then this whole alcohol thing came up as I started the steps. Like, because, being Jewish and all, we drink wine every Friday night, and I was never as one to drink, like, gallons of Manischewitz, because I find it disgusting. I don't know many people that would do that, but, there's always a few, and those people that do, this is the right place. And so, it's like, but I wasn't sure, if I was, I don't know if I have a drinking problem, and my sponsor said, if you don't have a drinking problem, that it won't be a problem to stop drinking. And I'm like, but I don't have a problem. And he said it to me again. I'm like, oh, I see what's going on here. Okay. Okay. So I just was like, okay, even a little sip of Manischewitz, okay, I can let that go. It's not like I'm like dying to drink any Manischewitz. I mean, it was just like, it was terrible wine anyways. But today, what's going on today? I don't want to get too into what it was like at the beginning. So today, there's been a lot of changes. I went through these steps that I was talking about with the 12 steps with my sponsor, and admitting that I was powerless, that was very clear to me when I got here. That was not a challenge for me. That was really what step 2 was about. I had to be open-minded to the fact that there's something greater than me, whatever the case may be, that's helping me feel a little more comfortable, or whatever the case is. For me, it was more comfortable. And so, okay, that was fine with me, because I wanted to be restored to sanity. I liked that idea in the step where it says restored to sanity. I'm like, because I was just insane, and I feel insane, so this is good. Okay, I'll stick around. So I remained open-minded. People would say, stay open-minded, remain teachable. And so, okay, I'm a student. I'm willing to learn. I've been a student before, and so I listened to my sponsor and what he said. I followed all his suggestions, even the ones that I didn't want to, because he has experience. And I say he because my sponsor is a male. But like, no. But it works. It works better that way. I mean, but for me, and because I don't know. I mean, I can relate, and not because I'm not a female. And so, okay. But step 3, I was willing to do this program. That's what step 3 was when I first got here. I was willing to do this program. Just willing to go through with this action. Because after step 3, you're making decisions in the first 3 steps here. You're coming to some awareness. You're not really doing the work as much yet. It's not too intense yet. But they're very important steps for this foundation. And so 3 is like you're willing to go through 4 to 11 here, and 12 will happen as a result. And 12 did happen as a result, the spiritual awakening, they call it. And that was very elusive to me. Like it was very mysterious what a spiritual awakening is in the step 12. You know, I understood about carrying the message of what I've received, and because like for my first 6 months, I would be driven around everywhere because I couldn't drive. I was out of my mind, and my sponsor would drive me to this meeting for my first year because I just was I just couldn't handle driving. I couldn't handle a lot of things in my first year, and if you can handle driving, that's awesome. He did this for me though. The point is, he did this for me freely. You know, he didn't ask anything in return, and that's what this is about. You know, like no one is going to be receiving payment for this. So people that are new, this is an awesome deal here. Received, and because for my first 6 months, I would be driven around it. You know, I could really just put it down, and there's no stressing over it. I just put down the name, the institution, whatever it is that bothered me, and my sponsor would cross off some of them, like, Avi, I don't think the zoo is something that I don't know, but and so I was like, okay, because I was still, you know, a little crazy, you know, and so I just tried to put down anything. But, you know, that's what the sponsor's there for, you know, because, you know, they go over it with you in the 5th step, you know, and in the 6th, I just had that one I had to sit in for just a little bit because I needed to find out, am I willing to let go of all these things that are blocking me? And I became willing. In step 7, that's gradual, you know, that keeps happening, you know, where I let these character defects, these shortcomings, I let them go, and it's between me and my higher power now, what I choose to call God. It took me a while to say that, but over this summer, I had a very interesting spiritual experience. I usually go to Israel almost every summer, not every single summer of my life, but almost every summer I would go, and I never had any spiritual experience. I've been to all the holy sites, all this stuff and all that, but it was never nothing involved God for me for some reason, because it was just whatever. It was just history for me. And then I went this summer and something happened. I had a spiritual experience, and ever since then, these steps have taken on a new depth. So I'm not saying that when you get here, you'll be able to, it's not always a sudden thing, you know? And it was gradual for me. It's different for everybody. It's just, you know, we're all different people, so it works different ways. But for me, that spiritual experience, and I say it's a very vague word, or phrase. It's because it's hard to define. And if I tried to define it, it just wouldn't work for me. But it opened up the door. I was feeling like, this is me, then there's a wall, and there's my potential beyond the wall. And I couldn't reach that potential unless I remained open-minded. And being open-minded in this program and being teachable, I was able to have this spiritual experience I had. And very psychedelic, I guess, because this program, my sponsor says it's time release, the feeling that goes on here. It's a different kind of high that I've never experienced in my life, and it keeps growing, and it's a beautiful thing, because if I'm in pain in my life these days, I'm able to not live in the pain. I'm able to look at the pain and maybe grow from the pain, which is an amazing concept. Like this morning, this was very small. This isn't pain at all. This has nothing to do with pain. Contrary action. I walk outside. I'm about to go into my car to drive to the meeting, and I see the trash cans out still. And this is they were supposed to be put in yesterday. And I walk by them. I open the car door, and I look at them, you know, and it's I'm not putting them in right now. Fuck it. And so then, I'm no, I'll just go put them in, you know. It's small things, you know. This isn't a program of extravagant changes. They're not going to happen extravagantly all at once. I mean, unless you're Bill W. But you know, I replaced my pipe and my lighter with a pen and a little book. This one's red. This isn't pain at all. This has nothing to do with pain. Contrary action. I walk outside. I'm about to go into my car to drive to the meeting, and I see the trash cans out still. Work, but what I can do, it doesn't work. But what I can do with it is I have it with me all the time. Since I'm doing these 12 steps, I feel it's only proper to have this book with me. If I'm at school, it's in my backpack. If I'm going to a meeting, it's with me because we're always talking about it. And this isn't like a book, like a novel. You're not going to have to go like all out crazy with it. But what it is it's a new design for living. That's really what this is. And it's a manual. Like, it's like if you're looking for some like solid like understanding, I feel like I can be more aware than the people my age, the people 20 years older than me. And it's like, it's an amazing opportunity. I can get past my shit, my personal shit, to reach my full potential. And I have all of you guys to help me out with that. Through your experience, through telling me, Avi, what you're doing right now is bullshit, or through just showing me, through your experience, how I can grow. And that is what I'm experiencing today. And it becomes clearer and clearer to me the more I do this thing. I really would like to say before I end, congratulations on 6 months. It's a very big deal. And it's just one of those milestones, you know, and there's going to be many more. Everyone's a miracle in here, you know. When you got 6 months, it's a great feeling. When I got 90 days, I remember that was like huge. When I got showing me through your experience how I can grow. And that is what I'm experiencing since is, because I was doing them constantly for like 4 or 5 years heavily, and it blows my mind. And congratulations, Raul, on 8 years. I look at the work as a memory, you know. But you know, the memory doesn't all come back, you know. But that's a great deal too. I mean, I aspire to that. I mean, I'm halfway there. But let's. You know, I can't, like, when I see the experience in these rooms, like 8 years or just even 1 year, like, I can learn from the people before me. I can learn from your experience because it's a reminder for me, and I can also learn from the people with more time because they have that much more time and they have that much more experience. And it's like they've been through that many more things. So it's humbling, and it's just a beautiful, like, tapping into knowledge. It's just a beautiful thing. And I guess that's all the time I have, but this room has helped me out a lot, and I'm really grateful for Marijuana Anonymous. And if you're new to this thing, it's just a beautiful. You're very lucky to be here. I know I'm very lucky. You might not feel it at this very second, but try to trust me. Remain open-minded, remain teachable. And I love you guys. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Ave. That was really nice to hear your story of experience, strength, and hope. Folks, you know, sometimes we minimize the marijuana issue, and we say, well, at least it's not hard drugs. You know, my son, my daughter, my spouse, whatever, at least they're just doing pot. Let me tell you something. It is a dangerous drug. It does kill people. It is majorly addictive. And as you heard and witnessed to with Ave's story, there is hope. You can't get out from underneath this thing. The lie is dead. We do recover if we'll just follow a few simple instructions through the 12 steps. Powerful message. Until our next broadcast, this is the Monty Man, and I am wishing God's perfect serenity for you. Bye-bye now.
Without the booze, I've been living, that's a fact. Without the booze,
I've been making my way back.
without the booze, I've been learning day by day to let it go and to stay out of my own way. Stay out of my own way.
This has been a broadcast of KHLT Recovery Broadcasting.